Right, thank you for joining us this evening. It is me, Rich Lyman, here with Paul Levett. Paul, how are you?
I'm absolutely fine, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, thanks for coming on. Paul, you are not only supportive of local community radio, Chelmsford Community Radio, Chelmsford College, but there's loads of community stuff that you're doing, isn't there?
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your business and then talk about the community side?
Yeah, so basically our business has been going for 16 years now as Levett Consultancy. Prior to that, I worked in local government for 25 years, working in children's services, delivering services to schools, particularly around IT services. And we've always had a good link with the community. So I've been brought up effectively in local government, and it's always about giving back to local citizens and stuff. So when I created this business 16 years ago, it's about basically enabling IT within public sector. That's what our aim was with schools, making sure they don't waste money and they use the technology the right sort of way. And things from that, and then it sort of snowballed from there from lots of other stuff we've done within the technology, but we always kept their ethos of basically trying to invest in local communities who support us as a business. And one of our key sort of things is we've been working with local colleges. We've been big advocates of the apprentice sort of scheme, and we've been working with apprentice scheme since 2010, 2011.
Wow.
Been working with the apprentice scheme doing that, and we've always had apprentices within our business. I think in the last few years we've gone the next step with that, where we've actually created really strong community links with Chelmsford College, Harlow College. We also worked with University of London for graduate schemes as well for that, and we found it's worked really, really well for us as a business. And it's really good to see like young people coming through infused about IT, and they come to our business and they basically want to know more about sort of like technology and how we work. And when they've come out of school environment, we sort of find that they don't really get taught the necessary skills about sort of like digital skills. And when they come and work for us, and the good feedback we always get is about they learn so much with how we work as a business. And as a business, we work mostly exclusively with Google technology. So a lot of the students who come to us, and even customers who come to us and things, they don't know too much about what Google actually offers as a business. So we actually show them the whole raft of enterprise sort of tools. And when we have students look at these sort of tools, they just look, oh, right, we didn't know Google does that. We just thought it does Gmail. And then realise it does so much more stuff, how it's equivalent to basically Microsoft and Oracles and stuff like that, how much sort of stuff's out there. And the students, when they see that sort of stuff, they sort of really run with that. And what we found, which has been really useful for ourselves, is that trusting the students to come up with ideas, their creativity is like second to none. And what we've really noticed, I could go out and spend thousands of pounds with marketing agencies, developers and stuff like that, but I get the same sort of level of work from students. It's crazy. I know, like Chelmsford Community Radio here, you have students coming here, and the enthusiasm and the wanting to learn far outweighs sometimes of spending thousands of pounds on things. So we've basically took the decision where we just invest in our local community, invest in our local sort of like popular local students, and hopefully they actually return that with ourselves, and they have longevity within our business, which is what we started seeing and things as well. So it's been really, really good for ourselves. And so as a business, we're all about basically IT sort of services, helping businesses and schools transition from traditional technologies like PCs and servers to cloud technology. And actually, and we sent that around sort of like the Google sort of side of things as our sort of technology, what we work with. And I think that's just mainly reason is basically we started working with Google back in 2010, and we was one of the UK's first Google partners at doing that, and we've just sort of snowballed with that, and we've got more and more, particularly in the education sector, want to know more about Google because they're looking at making cost savings, and Google's is an easy entry point for sort of schools to get into, plus also enterprise sort of tools. And what you're finding, going back to the student side of things as well, students when they're coming through schools and coming through universities, they will know about the Google, sort of like the Gmails and bits like that. So when they go into businesses, basically like, they ask about, they're used to using Gmail, they're used to using Google Drive, and when they're going to an organisation and they haven't got that, they start asking the questions, and then you ask organisations, oh, we need to look at doing that, and we end up picking up quite a lot of business that way as well.
That's brilliant. And tell me a little bit about the what kind of elements of that Google Enterprise Suite is most exciting for a small business or an educational institution?
So if I go back to my journey when I first started the business back in 2010, I knew the biggest expense, just based on experience, is literally buying servers and licenses, and then everyone has to use Microsoft Office, right? So, and that's one of the dearest licenses what you can have, because it's basically it's the main. Effectively, it's like the default in you have to have that productivity suite. And I didn't want to have that expense as a startup, and I just thought, well, it's going to be so expensive. So I wanted something where I can have I can do everything now as an enterprise, but also scale. Without having loads of costs just put onto me, loads of hidden costs. So I was looking around all these different products and things around, and one of my friends basically said to me, have you seen this thing called Google Apps? And I said, well, what's Google Apps? So he showed me it all, and I thought, oh, okay. So I looked at it, and I basically implemented that as a business, because it gave us our email client, it gave us basically equivalent to Word, Excel and PowerPoint, and things all under one license scheme, and it gave us storage to save stuff in as well. So it worked really well for us at that sort of point. And I thought, hang on, if this is like literally works really well for us, why can't schools use this stuff? And then I found out that Google was basically looking at introducing it to schools, but giving it to schools free of charge.
Oh, wow.
So, and I'm thinking to myself, hang on, but the government's promoting all these things called virtual learning environments, which cost on minimum about £2,500 per school. Wow. And if you're a secondary school, you're paying like £5,000 or more than that. But Google's offering something equivalent for nothing. It doesn't sort of make sense. So we went down the road of basically implementing ourselves and use ourselves as a case study to show people this. And then from that, lots of schools then got interested in that, because they want to save money but have the same, but don't want to lose functionality, which is key. And by doing that sort of Google stuff, it gave them their basic stuff of their emails, their productivity apps, and basic storage. The sort of things you have with a normal client server sort of setup. And those schools who have basically been on a journey with myself, from our very first customers who've been on that journey, I know that when COVID hit them back in 2020, those schools are still able to continue teaching.
Yeah, of course.
They didn't stop.
Was cloud-based.
And then
you can access Google Docs from home, and your students can connect in as well, can't they?
And the government put a scheme together about getting learning quick, getting learning, basically flexible learning in place while COVID, because they wanted to make sure basically children still can learn and teachers can still teach. And that was a big thing. And we got appointed by the government as one of a few companies in the UK to help schools transition to a Google platform to have something in place from there. And it's interesting, we actually worked with a lot of schools then all across the UK, helping them get set up quickly, things like that. But it was nice to actually look at the customer base we had at that point. They never had to do that. They literally was ready to go day one. That is all built for them. They had all their things like business continuity, all there, and children could learn and still continue doing that. And Google basically just gone on from strength to strength. So I know my last sort of podcast we had here was about security and AI.
Very important.
Well, AI is literally hasn't. It just keeps snowballing. Only this week, Google's released more AI stuff and things coming out of that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, I do want to ask you about AI, and I will direct anyone who's listening to that previous podcast. Just search Levett Consultancy on YouTube, and you can see that last podcast. But yeah, it's all about security. But let's just talk about AI. So, I guess the two main AI companions or tools that a customer or a general person might use is probably ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot. Where does Google fit within that ecosystem?
It's interesting you said that, because Gemini is more popular than Copilot.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's Google's version.
Right.
And I know...
See, I didn't even know what it was called. That tells you my background.
I think the problem with Copilot is it's advertised everywhere.
Yeah.
But the actual people using it basically are not using it as much, because the most used one is OpenAI's ChatGPT, which everyone sort of knows. And an ironic thing is that Microsoft basically invest in ChatGPT, and Copilot is based off of that.
I didn't know that.
So,
is Copilot, and this, I'm going to ask you really naive questions now, is Copilot safer because you can upload your own data, and with an enterprise license they're not going to share that wider than your environment? Is that
so? All the basically the main AIs out there, like basically ChatGPT, basically Copilot, Gemini, and what's the other one, Grok, those sort of like ones there. The enterprise license of those, anything you upload into those sort of platforms is literally supposed to stay within those sort of platforms.
Cool. So if I've got my business's finance documents for the last 6 years and I want to run a quick analysis, I'm safe to do that?
So you're safe to do that in those sort of platforms, but you have to be aware if you use the public-facing Copilot through the Bing, basically, search browser, or you literally go use Google's Gemini, stuff like that, they will use it, even though your data's safe and it's anonymised so people can't see what actually is there, they will use that data to actually create their back-end engines of basically their DeepMind sort of solutions and stuff like that. And it's interesting because Google, basically, as a product, which is not massively well-known, but it's well used in schools now in the education sector. It's called Notebook LM.
Okay.
And what's really good about Notebook LM is that exactly the stuff you're talking about is that you create your own resources, you put your resources in there, and it uses Google's back-end Gemini's engine to actually read those documents for you and give you the information you want based on the prompts you give that.
Right.
What it doesn't go and do is search the internet.
Yeah.
It just keeps it all contained in its own self-container based on the information you give that. And I'll give you one example which come out worked really, really well, just a thing we talked about finance. About a year or so ago, I was checking some reconciling within our systems, and I noticed there was like a £400 discrepancy by what's in the bank and actually what it says in my finance system. So I phoned up my accountant who does all the stuff, and he just turned around and said, it's coming up to basically, it's Eid tomorrow, he was saying to me, and he goes, so basically, can I do it next week after Eid? And I said, yeah, it's fine like that. But anyone who knows me, I was looking at it, it's bugging the life out of me, looking at this discrepancy, why can't I do it? And I just said, do you know what? There's all this AI stuff around. I'm just going to ask it the question, see what it can actually do. So I fired up Notebook LM, I downloaded a statement from my bank, and I downloaded basically an Excel spreadsheet from my finance system. I gave it a prompt, and I basically said, find me the discrepancy, why this is £400 difference. So I left it, come back 5 minutes later, it come back and said, yeah, on the 28th of February 2022, basically one of the things didn't get reconciled properly.
Wow.
So I went and looked for it, downloaded the thing from my bank and reconciled it, and it fixed it. I went back to my account and said, yeah, I don't need you no more. Literally, Notebook LM sorted it all out for me in 5 minutes. And I think that's the power of thing. But obviously there's also the dangerous side of AI, but the best thing with AI is that try to use it. You can try to use it, but use it properly. And I think, like, internally, we have an AI policy, which I encourage all businesses, all schools to have an AI policy in place. If you don't do it now, you're probably going to get requested to do it as part of your acceptable use or data security policies, things how you do that. Because the biggest problem we have with AI is that people can become too reliant on that. And AI, as is very sort of thing, like even today, I was asking AI to do something for me, and it was doing it wrong 3 times. Just wouldn't understand it. But if you don't understand what you're asking it and trusting AI to be the 100% thing, you're going to give really bad information to people you're talking to. And I think that's the biggest worry. And I was dealing with a college yesterday, and we was talking to some students who are going on apprenticeship stuff, and they're worried about when they come to their end of course exams that they just run AI. And AI does stuff from now. I know, talking to people at Chelmsford College, that actually happens, but they've got technology in place to actually help stop that. And I don't think the students are aware of it. Like, from their point of view, AI is very quick, basically efficient. They can put their work in straight away. But it's not their work. And even though you get the college might find it if it actually that's basically been plagiarised or AI sort of created it, the biggest thing I would say to like students and anyone who uses it is basically you get more satisfaction creating your own work. So like like this week I was working with one of our T-level students who's doing some marketing stuff with us. And I was going through how you do marketing, sort of like the process and things, how that sort of works. And she was going to go straight into AI. I said, no, AI is the last tool you use at the moment. What we would do basically is strategize by actually what is our outcome, what are our objectives, what we're trying to do with this marketing campaign. And then we basically unload everything from our heads and just put it all on a piece of paper, what we're trying to achieve. And then we go and look at what we do as a business and put everything out of our heads, what we do as a business, put it all there, this is what we want, this is what we do. Then we can go and use AI to go and tidy it up for us and give us some ideas from that. When it gives us the ideas, we're looking at the stuff when it's coming through, and she's done really well. She's looking, but we don't do some of that stuff. And so I'm going to change it. So she changed the wordings because she understood what we were doing. The worry is if you go dive straight into AI and actually believe AI, you're going to get wrong sort of things.
And it's just going to regurgitate what it already knows rather than absorbing new ideas from the information that you've given it. And
that's where you get misinformation. Because there was a case, I think about a year or so ago again, where a solicitor basically was basically at court and things, and it was basically I think litigation against someone or something along those lines, and he done his research using AI, and the AI basically come back and said this is the thing. He thought it was 100%. This is fact. How it's all going to be, and he went to the judge obviously the prosecution basically was prosecuting, he was doing defendant and stuff. I think it was a defendant. And they just basically looked and said, the judge has said, this is rubbish, because it doesn't work like that, and that's not the case, because that case never did come up ever. And they said, what do you mean? I'll research this and do this. And then they had to stop the court case, and then they had to basically go and see the judge, had private chambers and stuff to go through it all. And he admitted, they had to AI, because when they checked the case references where he was looking at, they never existed.
Oh my goodness.
It was AI, just basically went and made things up. But basically, his solicitor or the legal counsel basically took it as that was fact.
Wow, and that has real repercussions. So fact checking is important.
It's massive, because AI only just all the AI does is literally goes out to the internet, which is why Notebook LM, and I sit in there promoting Notebook LM all the time, but Notebook LM only goes by the resources you give it.
Yeah.
And things, so the information you've created, so you know it's factual because it's your sort of stuff. So it's only going to base your stuff on that sort of things, rather than just going on the internet. Things, and that's the problem you have, like with politics and stuff. I mean, I don't know if you've seen YouTube recently about how much AI content's created.
Yeah.
When you can see it, and I know when I see a YouTube video and there's a particular voice, as soon as you hear this voice, you just know that's AI.
Yeah.
Turn that one off. And things, and it's getting more and more common. And I think last week I was doing something with someone as well. There was a thing in, I think it was Telegraph. They done a thing with 32 people's faces. And in the 32 faces, the idea was to spot the fake ones. Yeah. And half of them are fake and half of them are real. And it's really, really hard to try to check. And it's just like the simple things where it's like eyebrows are not right. And it's like the simple thing is like AI that can't basically give the human features properly, where people's faces are not 100% symmetrical.
No.
And things. But AI creates the perfect feature and things. But if people don't believe this sort of stuff and they just see it as fact all the time, that's where it creates misinformation. And I think people using this technology has got to get as good as not just using it, but also spotting what's true, what not true to actually that. And that's more the difficult thing than using the technology.
Yeah, definitely. You are listening to Rich Lyman here on Feel Good Friday. I'm still here with Paul Levett, and we are talking about the Levett-ating podcast. What is that? Tell me about it.
So, last couple of years, we've been trying to do some podcasts based around what we do as a business. And we thought it would basically be a good idea to give people updates on the latest things technology-wise, particularly around the Google technology, what we do. But it's very difficult. You're running a business, you've got day-to-day stuff to deal with all the time. So we managed to do the podcast. We're trying to do them like once a month, didn't work, done it once a quarter. Tried to keep to it, very difficult, and it takes a lot of time doing. Getting the content is the easy stuff; it's the editing, and then pushing it all through. So that's why we've teamed up with yourselves here at Chelmsford Community Radio to create a podcast for us. So we thought we have to kind of a catchy name, and we want to make sure that everything we do now as Levett Consultancy has got Levett associated to it. So we're looking at rebranding some of our products to actually be called Levett Cloud as opposed to being something else. I think is what we're doing. And we just thought, when we're talking about it, what can we do for this podcast? We can't call it a Levett podcast because that's got no ring to it. And I was just talking to some people, and we said, what about the Levett-ating podcast? Because it means it's literally constant things, keeping update with trends. So we thought that was a good idea. So that's where we stuck with Levett-ating Trends Podcast. And the idea is that these type of sessions, what we're having today, and future sessions, basically once a month, talking about the latest bits in the technology agenda.
Yeah, well, definitely. Everyone who's listening, please go and subscribe to that. And we are going to talk about what is trending now. So there's a couple of things. Let's start with the Google Meet and Microsoft Teams integration. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so over a number of years, there's been video conferencing around, and obviously COVID come along, and then everyone gets pushed to go online, and then it hasn't changed. Everyone's having online meetings and webinars and all that sort of stuff these days. And one of the problems what people have got is that you've got to know your colours to one of the technologies, and the main ones out there is Cisco WebEx, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Google Meets. They're the four main ones what most people have all come across at one time or another. And the problem with that is that if you're a business or you're a school, and basically you've got your conference room set up and you've got your dedicated kit in there, it's only going to work with one of the platforms. So I've had lots of meetings over the last number of years now, things with people video conferencing meetings. And if they haven't got that particular piece of kit, so if it's working with us, it's Google Meets. And if they haven't got a Google Meets and they're going to a school or something, they have to get a laptop out And on a laptop, they put it in the middle of the room so they can see everyone in the middle of the room, and it just be able to use their laptop because they ain't got Google. Likewise, when someone does something like Microsoft Teams with us, we have to put a laptop out, and everyone sees us for our laptop rather than our kit. So there needs to be a way around how you can create basically a platform which supports all the different platforms out there, because people don't want to keep going buying different kits all the time.
So is this when you're in a meeting room and you've got the camera underneath the monitor that's kind of broadcasting you to whoever you're chatting with, and that's the kit that's normally directly associated with one brand?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the key, because obviously everyone's used to having the one-to-one sessions, which is through your PC or your Macs or whatever people are using these days, to have that session. But when you have like a conference room, it's usually a piece of kit there, which basically more than one person's in the room and they're chatting through to different people around the world and stuff like that. Like schools will do it with where they do learning, with basically learning of assignments in different countries. So I've seen it with schools who are doing Spanish, but with people in Brazil and things, to do like have that exchange, that sort of way. And it's really difficult if someone in Brazil is using Google Meets, but I'm using Microsoft Teams in my school here. They don't talk to each other, and likewise vice versa, and the same with Zoom and all that sort of stuff. So Google over the last few years have been integrating technologies into their hardware kits, and they call it Google Meets hardware. That's what they call it. The first one they integrated with was Cisco WebEx. Not as used as much now, but I think older generation of people like myself have probably used WebEx, because it used to be the most popular dominant one before COVID. It's everywhere. Everyone had to download an app and use a Cisco app and stuff like that. Yeah. And then basically during COVID, Zoom became the dominant sort of platform, so everyone knows. I think people say I'm going to have a Zoom today because they all knew.
Is Zoom owned by Microsoft?
No. Zoom is its own company.
Oh, is it? Right, okay.
So Zoom basically become the dominant platform during COVID, things like that. So Google basically worked with Zoom to actually have Zoom integrated into Google Meets hardware. So for a number of years now, we've been able to have Cisco WebEx meetings and Zoom meetings just using the same piece of kit, so you've got to go and pay nothing extra. But then the biggest issue we've always come across is literally Microsoft Teams. And Teams and Google just don't want to play with each other. We don't know if it's a Microsoft Google thing, basically like keep them totally separate and stuff like that. But over the last 6 months, basically Google and Microsoft have been working together, and then literally early this year they've released basically Microsoft Teams is now available through Google Meets hardware. So now when we have meetings, all we have to do, if it's a Google meeting, great, it just works straight away. But if it's not, we just press a button for Microsoft Teams, put the Microsoft Teams ID in with a password, if that gives you a password, and then you sign straight into Teams. Brilliant. So I've had a few meetings this week over Microsoft Teams, just in our conference room. As I think the other week was on Monday I had a meeting with someone over Zoom, and then yesterday I had a meeting with someone over Teams, and then I've meeting with Google and things like that. Just on one piece of kit. Just saves
making your life easier, isn't it? And that is big news for any schools or local businesses, and they can reach out to you directly if they want help with anything, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, what else is hot on the news agenda? I know you're going to be at the Essex Festival of Business again. Venue TBC, but that's coming up. I think that's where we met, actually, Paul.
That's right. Yeah, last year.
Yeah. So that's coming up again. That is going to be great. So watch this space. We will give lots of information about that as and when it is confirmed. But let's talk about your work with Suffolk the new college.
So this goes back to our community programme. So obviously, any people know us as a business. We work across the UK, basically doing Google Cloud services and IT technical consultancy services for schools all across the UK, as well as businesses, obviously, as well. But one of the things we always sort of found is that in Suffolk, where we have like field engineers who need to do stuff in Suffolk sort of schools, it's quite difficult. And there don't seem to be many people apply for work within those areas. And we obviously work with a number of schools across Suffolk and also on the borders of Essex into Suffolk as well, like the Colchester area. And when you talk to students, they basically say there's no... they find it hard to find jobs. And they don't know where to actually look for jobs and things like that. And I say it's funny because every time we advertise for jobs, no one applies for jobs in these areas. And things like this. So something must be going wrong in things in areas. Something might not be happening correctly. So over the last year, I've sort of made it my mission to actually create proper links into local authorities with Essex County Council and Suffolk on actually creating pathways for students to find employment within their areas, and with the hope of basically like some of those students will come and work for ourselves, but also making sure they've got something to attain to, so they don't feel hopeless. There's no job as soon as they finish their secondary school. Where do I go next? That was the reason why we've done the stuff with Chelmsford College, to create a pathway for students. And then we looked at Suffolk, and it's been a constant thing for many years for myself. Like Suffolk's children don't seem to have basically where they can go next. So I was introduced to Suffolk New College.
Is that because they're more rural and it's less tech focused, or is there a because they're that further from London, where you might get those kind of industries?
So that's the thing. I still don't know, because we've got a person who just started working for us. They live in Suffolk, and I asked him the question about, this is the thing we're doing at the moment with Suffolk New College. Yeah, and he turned around and said, I never knew enough of this. We don't get nothing. None of their schools in my college don't tell us any of this sort of stuff's available. What a shame. So there's obviously there seems to be a communication issue. I think so. So one of the principals I work with in one of the schools said, "Oh, there's a new principal at Suffolk New College. I'll put you in touch with him because you might be able to talk to them about stuff." So we had a good chat. We hit it straight off from the stuff, and literally within 2 weeks, we created a pathway for students now in local schools in Suffolk. Literally, they all basically they can come on a placement with ourselves, a year 10 or a year 11. Come on a placement to see what it's like to work in IT for basically a week. If they like it, they can have a conversation with us and Suffolk New College, and then from there they will go on a course at Suffolk New College. Brilliant. And they will get on one of the T-level courses. And if it's in IT, they can actually will have the placement back with us for 18 months. Wow. So they actually will get the on-the-job sort of skills, plus actually doing that college sort of course. And at the end of the college course, if there's vacancies and growth, and through us growth available, they'll have an opportunity to do an apprenticeship with us as well. Brilliant. So as soon as someone's 15 years of age, they'll have the opportunity right through to the 21, 22 to get the experience needed to get into the IT industry, and particularly the stuff we're doing with Google and AI and stuff.
That's incredible. That's a full career pathway. So yeah, thank you for offering that to those youngsters. I think that's great.
And we've been doing that. Like, that's exactly the same path we've got through Chelmsford, basically local community going through the basically Chelmsford College doing the same sort of thing. And I know with Essex, basically County Council, we're working with their basically Children's Services Inclusion team on doing something very similar with them as well as a whole county, just not just aimed at students, but people who are out of work within Essex to give them opportunities, or people wanted to change their careers. Because I was talking to Essex literally a few months back, and they assume basically people read stuff or they go to the Essex website, and I was trying to explain to people Essex is that, well, don't work like that. Literally, no one goes to Essex website unless they want to know about their refuge collections or literally the council tax sort of bills. They've got a complaint. Or there's something going wrong. Yeah. So they said, "What, really?" And I said, "Oh, how would you get it?" I think so. I went through a few ways how they engage with businesses to do stuff like this. I said, because most businesses don't want to go through recruitment agencies, because it's a cost, and people are trying to save costs. And if there's actually people who want to work within a business looking for work, or they want to get skilled up and work placement, stuff like that, and Essex Council's got all these people who actually want to do this, why aren't Essex Council engaging with businesses? Yeah. And Essex Council said, that's a really good idea. And I told them all these things, so they've asked me to be part of their scrutinising board now for the foreseeable future to help them basically work with business. So I'm going forward helping SME businesses with Essex Council to basically to get access to basically young people who want to basically have careers in loads of different fields, working with the council. So I'm not just shoehorning, just talking about IT, but also it allows us to basically help people who might have just been basically unlucky and been made redundant. Yeah. Where they can get a pathway back into work as well. Yeah. With Essex Council putting this sort of stuff together. So I think watch this space, because there's a big meeting in May about how that's going to go forward, and I'll be able to report back after May literally what Essex Council is going to be doing for the community here. Well,
thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about that. You have been listening to myself, Rich Lyman, and Paul Levett on the Levett-ating podcast, and of course on Chelmsford Community Radio. We are going to be releasing one of these podcasts every month, so subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple, YouTube or Spotify, and of course tune in every Friday at 7 p.m. for my show Feel Good Friday, which is full of great guests. we are going to leave it there, Paul. But thank you. And what is the website so people can keep up to date with all your blogs and infos and case studies?
Yeah, it's Levett Consultancy co.uk, and we're also on LinkedIn under Levett Cloud there as well. And it will also be useful to say that if people got any questions about IT and want to know about something, if they can send some questions into the studio here, we might be able to pick them up next month.
Yeah, definitely. Email Paul via his website there, so that's levettconsultancy.co.uk.